All right, guys, listen. What if the biggest thing killing your scale and your growth isn't? It's not your lack of deals or systems or marketing. It's that you're building from the outside in. You've got success on paper, but inside, chaos. This is something that so many entrepreneurs struggle with. So today, we are talking to a guy who has rebuilt everything from scratch after it all fell apart. Josh Kosnick has built and exited 3 businesses. Honestly, like a lot of us, hit the pit of despair and has come back with a leadership blueprint for high performers called the Kairos Code. And if you've got deals flowing, but you still feel stuck as a leader, this is the playbook today. Welcome to the Closers Club, where real investors come to learn tactics that they can implement into their business. This isn't fluff. This is absolute fire that you need to be paying attention to. Let's get into it. Josh, my man, thank you so much for coming on today, but let's jump right in. I see so many investors hitting 6, even 7 figures a year, but they still wake up feeling, man, like they're missing something, like just something is not there. What was this for you? What was that personal trigger? What pulled you up from, right answer, wrong life, that moment, and made you say, man, there's got to be something different.
Yeah, let's go back to COVID, David. I know our
Yeah.
favorite time for everyone. Summer of 2021, I'm running a large financial firm,
Yeah.
250 employees, managing $4
Whoa.
billion in assets, and you know, life is great, or
Mhm.
so I think. And June 16th, 2021, I get a call, corporate coming to town, which I think
Yeah.
is just to renegotiate numbers.
Right.
And instead, they said, Josh, we got no easy way to say this. We're moving in a different direction. You're no longer managing partner. Now, keep in mind, we were up 30% through COVID. Everything's going well,
Amazing.
except I had a cancer in our culture.
Mm.
And that employee, that cancer caused enough problems that they decided that they were going to remove me from the situation so they could get themselves out of a lawsuit.
Mm.
And so the people that I thought would have my back as I was facing a frivolous lawsuit turned their back on me as well. And my whole life gets turned upside down.
Right.
And I'm left wondering how I'm going to pick up the pieces. And so through that period, to keep the story as short as possible, I got 6 months. When attorneys get involved, everything takes a bit longer.
Right.
You got real estate people here listening to deal with attorneys. I know they can relate.
Every day. Yeah.
And so as that's going on, I'm going through the 5 stages of grief. And I want to say this to everyone. It doesn't matter if you have a happy sale of your business or a
Mhm.
sad sale like mine was. You go through an identity shift
Sure.
and your purpose gets removed from your life. And I work with entrepreneurs on a daily basis. So even if you were to sell your business, let's say it's to your son, let's say it's to a partner, it doesn't matter. Your purpose is now removed and you
Mhm.
got to figure out what's next. So I'm getting recruited by everyone in the industry. I was only 41 at the time,
Yeah.
millions of dollars in offers. And at the same time, I'm left with this pit in my stomach that something's not right. And
Yeah.
so I got a lot of work with and prayer with God to figure out, okay, what's going on here? This is so natural. I've done this for 20 years. So God was basically telling me, you've accomplished everything you set out into that industry. In that industry,
Mhm.
it's time for you to do something different. Okay, what's that? And so I go through this whole period of visioning and figuring out what that is. And it
Right.
determined and led me to speaking, coaching, and helping other entrepreneurs grow and build and exit businesses in
Mhm.
a better way than I did. Take some of the hard learned lessons that I did and teach them now so they don't have to go through the pain, the trials, and tribulations that I have.
Right. And I think that's so common, people that exit businesses, they don't know what to do. It will almost kill them because that drive and everything that they've had for so many years is just not that it's unexpected if you sell your business, but it's just pulled out from underneath you and you don't know what the next move is.
You got to know what the next move is. And
Yeah.
so, but here's the problem, David, is that we wrap our identity in that business.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that business is a thing. The Bible's very clear about this. And so when we think about idols, or when we read that say, well, you should have no idols above me, I think
Mhm.
most of us, including me at that time, think about Zeus or other gods, not realizing that our business can be an idol. Money
Yeah.
can be an idol. Our spouse can be an idol. Our kids can be an idol. Anything that we place above God can be an idol.
Right.
And so for me, my identity was wrapped in being CEO, money, accolades, goals,
Mhm.
recognition, all of those things, which were faulty. Because when the moving boxes got shipped to my house, and it took me a month to open them because I was
Mhm.
that far in my pit of despair, When I finally got the courage to open them, I realized none of it mattered. They were all
Right.
just things. If I died today, none of that shit was gonna matter. It was gonna
Right.
be stuff that collected dust on the shelf or stuff my wife had to throw away.
So, I mean, I relate to that. I believe me, I get it. You know, it just, and I don't know that it's so much that we consciously think that we're idolizing something, but it's maybe this little bit of just the way our entrepreneurs, our brains are wired. But it's always, I've got to do more. I've got to get more. I've got to, get to the top of this mountain, and then when I'm at the top of that mountain, I've got to get to the top of the next mountain. Yeah, it just maybe it's part of the way we're wired, and we just need to retrain our brains.
We are wired that. So let's get this out there. We're all a little crazy. And
Yes,
and,
hundred
and if you
percent.
and if you're married,
Mhm.
your wife is a saint or
Yes.
husband is a saint because they married a crazy person. So
Right.
let's get that out of the way. We're all a little crazy.
Mhm.
But and you can still have high levels of success. What I
Yeah.
don't want people to miss and screw up is the relationships that matter most in your life, your
Right.
spirituality, and your health. Because when everything got taken away from me, was stripped away from me, those three things remained. My belief in God, my relationship with God, my health was still really good. And my relationships with my spouse and my kids, they didn't love me any less. So if I
Yeah.
had screwed those things up, though, David, I
Yeah.
wouldn't be sitting before you today because that's how dark my mind was at that time.
Mm. And I've been in that spot, right? Where I'm just, I would come home from my 9 to 5 when I was just getting started in real estate. And, I'm holed up in the den and I'm spending all night watching videos and studying and doing all these things. And the trick I think that we play in our brain is I'm doing this for them. Right? Like,
Because
I'm
you're
doing
the
this for them
provider.
for the future. Yeah, yeah, right? And that's that, then you look back and you're like, "Yeah, well, we did buy hundreds of rental properties. That's fantastic. We did build a great business, but did I miss out on all of those years?" And I mean, I wasn't a bad nobody's beating anybody, but, like, was I just a bad dad or husband because I wasn't there, you know?
Yeah, here's the three questions when I open those boxes. Was I chasing God as much as I was my goals?
Yeah,
Was I pursuing my wife as strongly as I was pursuing recognition, the
yeah,
next accolade, whatever it was? Was I spending enough time and attention with my kids as I was my work calendar? And the
yeah.
sad answer to all three of those questions was no.
Yeah. But what
And
happens? Why do we fall into that trap? Like, what is the warning sign that we should be seeing, or that entrepreneurs as they're coming up should be
well,
looking out for?
let me say that it's not all our fault either. Yes, we are a little crazy. Yes, we are wired differently, but it's
Right.
also not all our fault. When we're kids, we always all of us get asked the question, "What do you want to be when you grow up?"
Right.
And we've probably asked our kids that as well. And then in high school, it gets reinforced with, "What are you going to go to college for?" And then in college, they go, "What are you going to do with that degree?"
Mhm.
And it's all circled around the what and not the who. So the more
Mhm.
appropriate question is like, who are you going to be, or who do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah.
And what values do you want to espouse? So I think that there's some societal conditioning around the what that we need to reframe, because when we're framed around the what, we're placing our identity in our work instead of that's just a piece of who we are. Like I really hope that when my days are done, that it doesn't say Josh was a great entrepreneur as my epitaph.
Yeah.
I really hope that Josh was a loving husband, loving father, and maybe somewhere down the list was a brilliant entrepreneur.
Right. So
Like
how do
that's
we go ahead? I'm sorry.
well, no, that's fine. I can close it up there. I just really hope
Yeah.
that people know that they're far more than what they do and that things that they accumulate.
So, I mean, let's talk about work-life balance. Is that achievable for an entrepreneur? Or is it a 50-50 thing? Like how should we be viewing that? Because I will tell you, for me personally, right, I do believe that entrepreneurs were a little little broken in the brain, but that's our superpower, that focus,
Yeah.
that ability to push through, figure things out. Maybe it's a trauma response. I don't know. It depends on who you listen to. But but also on the other hand, I'm like, geez, I really wish I was better at these other things. But maybe if I was better at that, I wouldn't have the thing that makes me great at my business. You know what I mean? So that's kind of that little bit of fear, at least exists in my head. And I don't, you've talked a lot, hundreds of probably of thousands of entrepreneurs. Maybe you've got more insight into that.
Yeah. Is balance achievable? No.
Yeah.
But is integration or harmony?
Yeah.
Yes. And that's the reason I don't like the terminology of work-life balance, because when
Mhm.
people hear that word, they understand they're not dumb, they understand the definition of balance.
Sure.
Balance is 50-50. They
Right.
automatically think of the 2 scales going
Hmm.
like this in their heads.
Right.
So balance is not achievable. There's no magical day or magical season of your life that you wake up and things are 50-50.
Yeah.
However, we can integrate our lives appropriately and give 100% attention of our focus to our kids in the duration of time that we have our kids. So for
Right.
example, I don't get my three girls are competitive dancers. I don't
Oh,
pick them up till 9 or 9:30 each weeknight.
hmm.
So even if I worked a normal calendar, normal schedule, like a 9 to 5, which I don't,
Right.
but even if I did, I'm not seeing them till 9 or 9:30. That's not
Yeah.
balance.
Right.
But I can be highly integrated by I'm the one that picks them up. My spouse doesn't.
Hmm.
And I have those 15 minutes with them on the way home. And we have
Yeah.
some great conversations before we get home.
Right. Yeah. And that was, that was one thing that I always tried to do because I had a dad who, when I was growing up, he was weird that we repeat the things that happened to us, but he was super like workaholic and all of those things and didn't, the one thing I wanted as a kid more than anything was just like come in the backyard and play soccer with me. Let's just kick the ball. And weirdly, we fall into that same trap. So yeah, that was, and maybe that was just the lie that I told myself, like the time that I am spending with my family or we're going on a trip or a cruise or traveling out, I want it to be peak time and I want to just be as focused on them as I can. And I try to be intentional and make sure that like my phone is down when I'm talking to people. So yeah, I've always struggled with work, the 50-50 work-life balance thing.
You want a hack though?
Sure, I'd
There's a
love it.
hack I have.
Okay.
And this is for everyone. This will be great for everyone. You have your want tos and your have tos in life.
Hmm.
Your have tos are the ones that, as high achievers, entrepreneurs, you're gonna
Hmm.
get done. Those are
Yeah.
your have tos, right? Here's the mistake we make. We put our have tos in our calendar before our want tos. I
Mm.
want you to reverse that order. So, for instance, my girls' dance competitions are on the calendar for 2026. They were there a month ago. As
Hmm.
soon as I got them in my hands, they're on my
Yeah.
calendar because then I can't schedule over a uh, speaking event or a
Hmm.
business. I'm not flying out to a business that I coach.
Right.
They're in my calendar. I'm not scheduling over those. Date night with your spouse, your workouts,
Hmm.
whatever is important to you on your want tos have
Yeah.
to go on your calendar before your have tos. Because
Yeah.
if you don't, your have tos will bleed right into your want tos. So that's
Hmm.
just a quick hack and just reverse the mentality of it because you'll get it done. You're an entrepreneur, you're a high achiever, you'll get your have tos done.
Yeah. I love that. So tell me a little bit about the Kairos code and kind of how you got there, how you figured that out.
I never wanted to be an author. Was not ever on my radar. And
Really?
now I'm a USA Today featured best author on my debut book. It's really humbling, and the feedback's been amazing. My English teachers would be absolutely shocked if they're still alive today.
Yeah.
Um, but it was what God was putting on my heart was the lessons I learned in my pits of despair
Right.
were not just for me. They were meant for the world, and hopefully that they can learn some lessons before they have to go through the hard lessons that I went
Hmm.
through. And so I was really vulnerable in the book. I shared the story. I shared the story of me getting sued by someone that I cared about, and everything I could legally say, I put in
Hmm.
there because I think a lot of people, if for everyone listening, if you read a lot of self development, personal development, leadership books, it seems like everyone's trying to position themselves or corner themselves as the expert in X.
Right.
I'm not. I'm just sharing from the journey. And I think that's why it's been so well received. So what got me there was the God putting on my heart, these lessons weren't just for you. And then I
Hmm.
went through the effort of writing it over the year that I wrote it. And now the 5 bridges of Kairos that came with that as part of our coaching curriculum.
Uh-huh.
And it's been an amazing journey.
Nice. Can you talk about the 5 bridges a little bit and kind of give
Yeah.
some little bit about
Yeah. So
that?
I already alluded to them a little bit, but when I was opening those boxes, I had that epiphany. I asked myself those 3 questions. I'm like, all right, what really matters? All right,
Mhm.
my relationship with God. And now, if you guys don't believe what I believe, that's totally fine. But I bet you've been to a funeral or a wake or visitation and seen that the body is there and the spirit is gone. So you got to know that we're spiritual beings. So whether or not you're on my plane or on a different plane, that's totally fine. You got to know your purpose here on this planet. We exist at this specific time in human history for a reason. So getting a foundation of spirituality and what you believe is the most important. Bridge number 2 is what I call internal. It's your mental, emotional, physical health. We got to put our oxygen masks on before assisting others. You are not going to be the best for your family, your employees, or anyone else in your life if you are not taking care of yourself mentally, emotionally, physically. I've seen too many entrepreneurs break themselves down sacrificing their health for their business or
Yeah.
their health for their wealth. And I got to tell you, the new wealth is your health.
Right.
Being in the condition that I'm in, 212 pounds, under 10% body fat at 45 years old, that's a bigger flex than any Rolex I can put on my wrist.
Yeah.
So, literally and figuratively, by the way.
Yeah.
But the you gotta. I'm not saying you have to be like me as far as physical health. What I am
Yeah.
saying is you gotta take care of your mind, heart,
Mhm.
and body.
Yeah,
And
and I can tell you
then
for me at 54, that's become a big focus the last year or so, you know?
good.
Yeah.
Just continue on the journey, just because I think the goal for us is we've seen parents, grandparents, people just not be on that health phase, and the end
Yeah.
of their life is so decrepit and
Mhm.
in hospice care or whatever. We can't always control it, but I want to control it as long as I can.
Yeah.
I want to live as long as I possibly can, as healthy as I possibly can.
Right.
And I think that should be a goal for most people. All right,
Nice.
bridge three, relationships. This is the fruit of life. This is where I see too many entrepreneurs sacrifice their family for their employees or their business. And you got to know that these people, that your spouse chose a crazy person, they took a bet on you,
Yeah.
and make sure you hold that relationship sacred. Your kids, they didn't choose to be brought into this world. You chose for them to be brought in this world. Hold those relationships sacred. So the relationship order is God first, yourself second, your spouse if you have one, your kids if you have them, then everyone else. That's the prioritization.
Mhm.
But relationships are the fruit of life. Don't screw them up. Please don't
Yeah.
screw them up, because
Yeah.
hopefully your most sacred relationships will be around you at your deathbed. Your business won't.
That's
Maybe
true.
some of your employees will show up around at your funeral, maybe,
Maybe.
but I really hope your family and loved ones are.
Right.
And then fourth bridge is environment, what I call environment, but it's really the bridge we all skip to. It's your professional, your financial, and hopefully you mix in there some creative and joy. But this is the one we all skip to. I still want you to be wildly successful. I just don't want you to screw up the order. I want to be wildly successful as well.
Yeah.
Just don't screw up the order. And then the
Right.
fifth bridge, if we get the first four right, is legacy bridge. The
Mm.
two things people get wrong about legacy: one, we think it's 30 years from now
Mhm.
because we don't think we're going to die for a long time, even though we are cognizant that we could die tonight. We just don't think it's going to be us. And the second thing they think about legacy that's wrong is it's about things, and it's just not. So let me dispel those two myths quick. You're leaving your legacy every single day you're blessed to wake up, in every interaction you have with another human being, every
Mhm.
action you take, or every action you don't take. So start leaving your legacy every single day.
I love that.
Secondly, it's what you leave in others, not what you leave behind.
Hmm. The impact you make on their lives.
That's right. What ripple effect, what fingerprint or imprint do you want to leave on this planet?
Mhm. That's incredible. So you've had an amazing journey. You've figured out a lot, right? Like how to live your life in the best way possible. How do you help other people with that? What does that look like? What besides the book, which everybody should go out and absolutely buy that book. I'm gonna download it here as soon as I'm done. But like how can you said you've got an amazing ranch farm, 80
Yeah.
acres up there. Like tell me about some of the other things that you do.
Yeah. So all of my coaching is based on the five bridges outside of the EOS work I do. And if those are
Yeah.
familiar with EOS,
Mhm.
um, I added that in because I think two business owners or entrepreneurs struggle with two major things and then 136 little issues under there.
Yeah.
But the two major ones are human or leadership development, and the second one, systems and processes to help them grow.
Mhm.
So I am an EOS implementer, certified. And then the five bridges coaching, I do individual work with clients. I do mastermind work, and then the most joyful work I have is when I can have teams up here at the property. I bought 80 acres
Yeah.
with the settlement and payout from my former business to really get, again, coming out of COVID, get people off these Zoom screens, get
Yes.
people out of the fluorescent lights, get into nature, tap back into themselves, work inward so they can go
Mhm.
back to their homes and back to their offices as better human beings.
Yeah. Just feeling refreshed and far more focused.
Yeah, and grown as a human.
Yeah. I love that. What is because this is amazing, Josh. I'm really glad we got you on here and that Nick connected us. What's the best way for people to find you, to connect with you, to learn more?
So I found that I have great SEO. I've never met another Josh Kosnick. So Josh Kosnick, joshkosnick.com is the website. There's
Mhm.
a free assessment for you to go through the five bridges.
Oh,
and
okay.
figure out where you're at on that. That would give
Hmm.
you an individual score as well as a
Yeah.
totality score and give
Hmm.
you some great feedback. That's going to remain free because I want people to check in on that yearly to see how they're pacing.
Oh,
And
okay.
then at Josh Kosnick on all social media platforms. It's easy.
Love that. Josh, thank you so much for coming on. Listen, guys, Josh is the absolute go to for high performers that are ready to do more than just some more transactions, right? He's just talked about the system that he has built where leadership and alignment and scale actually come together, right? And how you become just a better person on the side of that, on the other side of that, not just for you, right? But for everybody in your circle. So, if you want more than just another deal, right? Go to joshkosnick.com. But also grab his book, The Kairos Code, absolute bestseller. And I cannot wait to download it. I'm going to grab it here as soon as we're done. But do what I'm going to do. Take that life. I'm a little nervous, Josh. I'll tell you, I'm going to take the assessment today. I'm a little nervous, and I'm sure a lot of people think they're going to do better on it than they actually do. But listen, guys, if you got value from this, make sure that you follow Josh, subscribe, and drop a like, and make sure you just send this to somebody who might need this in their life, because this is the one thing that we don't really get to talk about a lot. A lot of it's just very tactical things about your real estate or your investment business, but this is the other side. This is the real fulfillment after you make the money. So for me, I wish I had fixed a lot of these things early on. So Josh, I really appreciate you coming on, man. It was awesome.
It's been a pleasure, David. I'll just leave everyone with just this. Like, you deserve to live your best life outside of your business as well as inside your business.
Yeah.
So let's start stepping into it.
Awesome. I love that. Thank you so much.